In this video, we're going to continue working on background vocals. Now, we've done all the audio snap, we've rendered the output, we've done a little bit of editing to really tighten these vocals up. We could do a little more editing just to clean up the appearance of the waveforms. You can see that I've separated out a lot of the vocal phrases. I think a lot of the time that makes it easier to mix because you can see what's what. You can also see that most of our background vocals are in pairs. We've got a pair of low vocals. They're the same part, but they're just recorded twice. Same thing with the high female vocals. Most of these things are recorded in pairs. So we've got two, these four are really all very similar to each other, but nonetheless, they're recorded in pairs. We're going to use that as we figure out the placement in the stereo image. We're also going to add a little bit of reverb in this video as well. Doing cleanup editing in Sonar X1 is very simple. We can use the Smart tool. When you get the I-beam near the top part of it, you can just swipe a marquee selection over as many of these tracks as you want and just hit delete, and that takes care of that. So if we want to take out this piece here of silence, we can just create the marquee selection and delete that. Likewise, on this end of it, we can delete that. So you can see it makes very quick work of that type of cleanup editing. I'll also go here and across these tracks. I can delete this piece here as well, hit delete, and I've got that cleaned up. Looks like there's a little bit of extra right here. Use my fast zoom, drag, delete, done. So next I want to show you how the panning's set up, then we'll take a look at the Pro channel. So here's my pair of background vocals for the low part. You can see that I've got the first low vocal is panned over to the left a little bit, and the next one is panned very tight just to the left of center. So that gives me the kind of a spread on those vocals. I'm just going to solo those so you can hear how they work in the stereo image.
He'll never take me down to the darkness.
So then if we take a look at the high vocals, they're panned in the opposite way. You can see that this high vocal is panned slightly to the right, and the next one is panned a little bit more to the right. So the group sounds like this.
He'll never take me down to the darkness.
Now, the lead vocalist also recorded a background vocal, and there's just one of those, so I've got that panned to the center. So the entire group sounds like this.
He'll never take me down to the darkness.
So it's pretty tight. I've also added some mid-range energy. I'm going to show you how I did that as well. So I can select the Pro channel in the inspector by just clicking on the track number here, then clicking on the Pro channel right here. Now you can see what I've done with this. We've rolled off a lot of the lows and we've added a mid-range boost.
He'll never take me down to the darkness.
And then we've rolled off the highs on that as well. And then on the female vocal, frequency turned out to be a little lower. I just adjusted those by ear. The two different background vocals have just slightly different frequencies. And then for the lead vocal version of the background vocal, you can see we've got a similar treatment. We've rolled off the lows. We've done a little bit of a mid-range boost. We want to add some energy there. This is a rock song. We don't want it to sound like pop vocals. These vocals are pretty gritty. They're recorded kind of loose, even though we tightened up the timing. We're still going after a certain kind of rock feel. That's another reason I don't want these just massively spread out left and right. It just doesn't sound quite like the intimate group kind of thing that we want when we do it that way. So for the high version of background vocal 1, this is the one we split off before, we've got that pan slightly off to the left, and then this one is panned off more to the left. Then this one is slightly to the right and then more to the right. So we've got that kind of spread across all of these vocals.
This breath will try to take me down.
So it's not a super wide spread, but that's really not what I was going after in that example. And now going back to the Pro channel, and also back to the Pro channel, you can see the way I've got the compressor set up. The ratio here is set to about 4:1. It's the same for all of these. I've got the threshold turned up. If you've got a good signal, you would gradually turn this threshold down. But to get the compressor to kick in, we can really get the compressor kicking in with the threshold up. I've got the release set way down because the release time is pretty slow in this compressor, and I've got the attack turned to the fast mode. The sidechain's got to be turned off, and then the output is adjusted to suit. You'll get a little bit of response on these meters as the gain reduction kicks in.
He'll never take me down to
So this is a pretty standard setup for a vocal on the channel compressor. It's a pretty transparent compressor, but it does a nice job of giving a basic level control to that. I've also got the tube module enabled on all the channels. It adds a little harmonic content to each of the vocals. And I think that gives us a nice powerful blend that's suitable for this kind of vocals are way too hot, but I can't just turn down the track because then that would mess up the volume here. So I've got to use some type of automation. What I'm going to do for this is use the clip level automation. I'll select all 4 of them by swiping over the track number, hold down Shift Control, and on any of them, I'll switch to show the clip automation gain. So that turns on the edit filter for gain for those modules.
By the smell of its breath, they try to take me down.
So I can use the clip gain on each of these little phrases to adjust the volume. You don't have to grab the line. You can just grab above the line anywhere and then adjust that line up and down, and that will adjust the volume of that particular clip. And as we work through the mix, we might make some additional tweaks to that as we move along. Now let's also take a look at the bus. So all the background vocals are coming into the BV bus, and then this bus is headed out to the Vox bus so that we can control all the vocals together. Now, if we look at the Pro Channel setup here, you can see what we've got is just really the bus compressor. This is the SSL style bus compressor. It's set to a pretty moderate setting. You can see the attack time is set to about 3 to 4 milliseconds. Now I'm going to change the release time and set this to auto, which I think works pretty well for this application. The threshold is just set up until we get the right amount of gain reduction here, and then we can dial in some makeup gain. It's currently set to about 6 dB. So I'll play back a little bit of that as I tweak this compressor.
He'll never take me down, down to the darkness, down with the devil. He'll never take me down, down to the darkness, down with the devil.
Now, another way to do this would be to use the parallel compression, which would be to go to a much harder ratio, like 10:1, and then actually back off on the wet-dry mix.
He'll never take me down, down to the darkness, down with the devil. He'll never take me down, down to the darkness, down. We
often do that with drums or the lead vocal. For the background vocal, it depends. Right now, I think I'm going to leave it set to 4:1. And let me just adjust this again.
With the devil, he'll never take me down, down to the darkness, down with the devil. He'll never take me down, down to the darkness, down with the devil.
The whole point of this compressor is to try to tie all of these individual vocals together so it sounds like a vocal group. Now, the last thing I want to do is add some space using reverb to the background vocals. So I'm going to choose any of the background vocals and I'll right-click in the send area, and we're going to send it to a new bus. So I'm going to use the send assistant, and the bus will be a new bus. The bus output will go to the effects, bus output effects. I'm going to name it small room. I'm not sure if I'm going to use a plate sound or a small room, but the effect of it will be a small room. I'm not going to choose any effect. I'm just going to click OK. Now back over here, I've got my new effects bus. I'm going to change the color right away. And like with all of our other things, we're going to move this up to get it in a nice order. Well, that'll come right after the delay. Now for the actual reverb sound, I'm going to use a third-party Pro Channel module from Softtube. This is the TSAR, True Stereo Algorithmic Reverb, which is a fantastic sounding reverb. So we're going to insert that module. And as I said, this is an add-on. I'm going to turn off the other Pro Channel modules just to make sure that they're not on. And then we'll adjust this one. The thing we need to do is start with it with the mix all the way wet, and then let's find the sound for this.
Oh, he'll He'll never take me down, down to the darkness, down with the devil. He'll never take me down, down to the darkness, down with the devil. He'll never take me down, down to the darkness, down with the devil. He'll never take me down, down to the darkness, down with the devil. He'll never take me down, down to the darkness, down with the devil. He'll never take me down, down to the darkness, down with the devil. He'll never take me down, down to the darkness, down with the devil.
So that's a very nice, very natural sounding reverb. And what this does, it allows us to put the background vocals into the back just a little bit. Now, the Softtube TSAR is an add-on Pro Channel plugin that you can find at the Cakewalk store. If you like using the Pro Channel for mixing, it is a great addition to the Pro Channel modules. So with that, I'm going to back up and play a little bit of the background vocals in context. Now, keep in mind the rest of the mix is still not really completely sorted out, but we'll listen to it as it stands right now. Background vocals, we're ready to move on. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.